Today I have a story that will make you rethink everything you believe about trust, love, and the people closest to you. It began like any ordinary day until my stepmom said something that stopped me cold. Her secret. Something so unexpected, so deeply hidden, it shattered everything I thought I knew about my family. You may think you've heard shocking stories before, but not like this. So don't look away and don't waste the next 10 minutes because what happens next will leave you speechless. I walked into the living room that evening expecting nothing more than the usual mundane quiet of the house. But what I found left me frozen in my tracks. There she was, my stepmom, the woman who'd always seemed so strong and put together, sitting alone, tears streaming down her face. I'd never seen her like this before. In that moment, all my assumptions about her, the perfect, flawless image she had built over the years, shattered in an instant. I wanted to comfort her, to understand why, but the secret she was hiding was something I never could have predicted. The soft hum of the house felt strangely comforting, yet it only amplified the tension in the air. I stood there motionless, just a few feet away from the woman who had always been a pillar of strength in my life. My stepmom, Kate, was sitting on the couch, her hands clenched tightly in her lap. Her eyes were red, swollen from crying, and she seemed oblivious to the world around her. The sight of her like this sent a shockwave through me. This wasn't the woman I knew, the one who had always been in control, who had guided me through every difficult moment with unwavering support. For as long as I could remember, Kate had been my rock. She had come into my life when I was just a teenager, taking on the role of both a mother and a friend. At first, I had resisted the change. I didn't want anyone stepping into the shoes of my real mom. But Kate wasn't like the other women my dad had dated. She was patient, understanding, and kind. Slowly, she earned my trust, and over the years our relationship had blossomed into something I never expected. She wasn't just my stepmom. She had become someone I looked up to. That's why seeing her like this felt like a slap in the face. The woman who had taught me so much about strength and resilience was now sitting there, broken, vulnerable, and completely shattered. My heart ached for her. But at the same time, I felt a wave of confusion. What had happened? What had brought her to this point, and why had she been hiding it from all of us? I took a hesitant step forward, unsure of how to approach her. My mind raced, filled with 1,000 questions. Should I ask her what was wrong, or would that only make things worse? I didn't want to intrude, but I also couldn't just stand there and watch her fall apart. She had always been there for me. Maybe it was time I returned the favor. As if sensing my presence, Kate finally looked up at me, her eyes searching mine for a brief moment before she quickly wiped away the last of her tears. She tried to force a smile, but it didn't reach her eyes. The warmth and confidence that usually radiated from her were gone, replaced by a deep, hollow sadness. "You don't need to worry about me," she said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. But I could tell she was trying to convince herself more than she was trying to convince me. I shook my head, stepping closer. "Kate," my voice cracked and I cleared my throat suddenly, at a loss for words. I wanted to help, to understand what had happened, but I couldn't find the right way to ask. "It's not what you think," she added, her hands fidgeting nervously in her lap. "You don't need to get involved in this." I couldn't let it go. Not when everything I thought I knew about her was being turned upside down. "What's going on? Please, Kate, I want to help." Her eyes darted away from me, avoiding my gaze. She took a deep breath, as if trying to calm herself before speaking again. I could see the struggle in her expression. She didn't want to burden me with whatever was weighing her down, but I knew she couldn't carry it alone anymore. "It's just," she began, trailing off as if the words were too heavy to say out loud. I could feel the tension building between us, a mixture of concern, frustration, and the weight of a secret that had been buried for far too long. "I've been keeping something from you, from your dad, from everyone, and it's eating me up inside." My heart skipped a beat. My curiosity was piqued, but there was a part of me that was terrified of what she might reveal. Was this something I could handle? Something that would change everything I thought I knew about our family? Kate stood up slowly, her hands trembling slightly as she reached for the coffee table. She took a deep breath, her eyes focused on something far away, as if trying to gather the strength to say whatever was about to come next. I never wanted to hurt anyone," she continued, her voice shaking, "but I've been hiding something. A part of my past that I never thought would come back to haunt me, and now it's all falling apart." I could see the fear in her eyes, the fear of losing everything, of losing the family we had built together. I knew that whatever she was about to say would change everything, but I had no idea how deep the secret really went. It wasn't just her past. It was something far more tangled, far more complicated than I could have ever imagined. I reached out, placing a hand gently on her arm, grounding her in the moment. "You don't have to do this alone, Kate. Whatever it is, we can figure it out together." But Kate's eyes filled with regret, and I knew in that moment that whatever she was holding back had already begun to unravel, and there was no turning back. The silence between us grew thick, almost suffocating, as Kate took a step back, her expression both pained and conflicted. I could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on both of us. This wasn't just about her secret anymore. It was about trust betrayal and the fragile fabric of the life we had built. Every word she was about to speak would tear down everything I thought I knew. She exhaled sharply, eyes closing for a moment before finally locking with mine. "I need you to listen to me, okay? This isn't easy." Her voice trembled, but there was no turning back. Whatever she was about to say, it was going to shatter everything. I nodded slowly, not trusting myself to speak. My heart was pounding in my chest, the anticipation of her revelation swirling in my stomach like a storm. My mind raced with possibilities. What could she have hidden for so long? What could be so awful that it made her break down like this? Kate swallowed hard before continuing. "I didn't come into your father's life by accident. I was running from something, someone, a person from my past, someone I thought I could escape until now." Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. I wasn't prepared for this. She wasn't just talking about a mistake or a secret, but a shadow that had been lurking in her past, threatening to catch up to her at any moment. I took a step forward, trying to process the weight of her words. "What do you mean? What happened?" I couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong, but I couldn't fathom what it could be. Kate's eyes flickered with something darker, something more painful than I had ever seen in her. "Years ago, before I met your dad, I was in a relationship with someone. It was toxic, abusive, and I thought I could outrun it, but I couldn't. He's back, and he's been threatening to expose everything about me, everything about my past." My stomach dropped, and the room seemed to tilt. I had never imagined Kate, strong, kind, and composed, having such a painful history. It felt like the foundation of everything I knew about her was crumbling right in front of me. "Who is he?" I demanded, the words coming out sharper than I intended. I needed to know. I needed to understand who this person was, what kind of hold he still had on her. I had always seen Kate as untouchable, above the kind of pain that others endured. But this revelation shattered that illusion. Kate's eyes darted to the window, and she seemed lost in a memory that was too painful to relive. She took another step back, as though the weight of the conversation was too much to bear. "His name is Luke," she whispered, barely audible. "And he's been manipulating me from the shadows for years. I tried to escape. I really did. I thought I had built a new life with your dad, with you, but he found me. And now he's using my past against me. He's threatening to expose everything, destroy everything I've worked so hard for." The shock of hearing the name hit me like a jolt of electricity. Luke. The name rang a bell, but I couldn't place it. Who was he? Why had Kate never mentioned him before? Why didn't you tell us? Why keep this a secret? The words slipped out before I could stop them, a mix of frustration and concern. The Kate I knew was honest up front. This was so out of character for her. I could feel the pain in my chest, the conflict in my mind. She had always been the one to protect us, to make us feel safe. Why hadn't she let us in on this? Kate's face crumpled, and I could see the internal battle she was waging. Because I didn't want to drag you into it. I didn't want you to know about that part of my life. I didn't want you to see me as weak. I thought I could handle it on my own, but I can't anymore. A deep sorrow washed over me. I had always admired Kate for her strength, her resilience, but now in this moment, I saw her as someone who was just as human as the rest of us. She wasn't invincible. She had her scars, her vulnerabilities, and those were things I hadn't been prepared to face. "I never wanted you to see me like this," she continued, her voice barely a whisper. "I want it to be perfect for you, for your dad, for this family. But I'm not. I'm broken, and I don't know how to fix it." Her words hung heavy in the air, each one a reminder of the secret she had buried for so long. I reached out my hand, finding hers gripping it tightly, as if to anchor her back to reality, back to the present. "You don't have to be perfect," I said softly, my voice more certain than I felt. "You're human, Kate. We all have our pasts, and that's not what matters. What matters is who you are now, and you're the same woman who's always been there for me. You don't have to face this alone." Her gaze softened, and for the first time since I walked into the room, I saw a flicker of hope in her eyes. It was small, fragile, but it was there. She squeezed my hand back, the weight of her burden seeming to lift just a little. "I don't know what to do or how to stop him," she murmured, her voice breaking. "But I know I can't keep carrying this alone. I need you. I need all of you." I didn't have all the answers, but one thing was clear. I wasn't going to let her face this alone. Together, we would figure this out. Together, we would protect the family we had built, and maybe, just maybe, we would heal from the pain that had haunted her for so long. But I had no idea just how deep the betrayal would go, or how much darker the truth really was. The room felt heavy, charged with the tension of everything unsaid between us. Kate and I stood there, the silence between us growing more intense with each passing second. The truth hung in the air, but it wasn't enough to bridge the distance that had suddenly appeared between us. I was still reeling from the shock of her confession. Luke, the name, echoed in my mind, and my thoughts spun in endless circles, trying to piece together the fragments of Kate's past that I had never even suspected existed. I had always thought of Kate as the rock in our family, the steady force that kept us grounded, the woman who held everything together with grace and strength. But now, seeing the vulnerability in her eyes, the way her hands trembled in mine, I realized just how little I had known about her. She wasn't the untouchable, invincible figure I had built her up to be. She was a person with fears, regrets, and a past that was just as complicated as mine. "I don't know what to do," Kate whispered again, her voice breaking, tears welling in her eyes. "I never wanted to put you in this position. I wanted you to see me as someone strong, someone who could protect this family, but I failed." Her words sliced through me. I could feel the weight of her guilt, the immense pressure she had been carrying on her shoulders, trying to protect everyone around her, even at the cost of her own peace. My heart ached for her. I didn't know what kind of man Luke was, but I could see the damage he had done to Kate, the way he had left his mark on her, and I wanted to protect her from him more than anything. "Kate, you're not a failure," I said, my voice steady despite the storm inside me. I reached up and gently cupped her face, forcing her to meet my gaze. "You're allowed to have a past. We all are. What matters is what we do now, how we face this together. You don't have to carry this burden alone." But even as I spoke those words, a nagging doubt crept into my mind. Could we really face this together? Could we undo the damage Luke had done? Could Kate ever truly be free of the shadows he had cast over her? I wasn't sure, but I knew one thing for certain. I wasn't going to let her go through it alone. "I don't know how he found me," she said, her voice strained. "But he's not going to stop. He's the kind of person who gets what he wants, no matter the cost. And I've always been afraid of what he might do if I try to fight back. I thought I could keep my past hidden, keep it buried, but now it's all coming to light." Her words were like a dagger to my heart. I could hear the fear in her voice, the desperation in the way she spoke about Luke. This wasn't just about a secret. It was about survival. Kate had been living in constant fear of what he might do, and it tore at my soul to know that she had been carrying this alone for so long. "I won't let him hurt you," I said fiercely, my voice unwavering. "I'll do whatever it takes to make sure he doesn't get what he wants." "Well, figure this out, Kate. I swear we will." She met my gaze, her eyes filled with a mixture of hope and doubt. I could see the internal battle she was fighting. The fear that if she let herself hope she would only be disappointed again. But I wasn't going to back down. I couldn't. For her sake, for our family's sake, I had to be strong. I'm scared, she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. I don't know how much longer I can keep hiding this. How much longer I can pretend everything is okay when I'm falling apart inside. Her words hit me harder than anything else. Kate was the last person I ever imagined would be so broken, so afraid. But here she was, exposing her raw, unguarded self to me, showing me a side of her that I had never seen before. It was both heartbreaking and beautiful, the way she allowed herself to be vulnerable with me. In that moment, I saw her not as the woman who had everything together, but as a person who had been carrying too much weight for too long. I don't want to hide anymore, she said, her voice trembling with emotion. I want to fight back. I want to be free of this fear. I squeezed her hands, pulling her closer, wrapping my arms around her in a gesture of comfort and reassurance. We will fight back, Kate. We'll do this together. You don't have to be afraid anymore. You're not alone in this. For a moment we stood there holding each other, the weight of everything that had been left unsaid hanging in the air between us. And then, slowly, Kate pulled back her eyes, searching mine with a mixture of gratitude and sorrow. I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner, she said, her voice soft but full of regret. I should have trusted you with this, but I was afraid of what it would do to us, to our family. You don't have to apologize, I said, shaking my head. You did what you thought was best at the time. But now we know the truth and we'll face it together. Well, figure this out, Kate. We'll make sure he doesn't tear us apart. Kate's eyes glistened with unshed tears as she nodded, a flicker of hope finally breaking through the cloud of fear and doubt that had been hovering over her for so long. We'll fight together, she said quietly, her voice stronger now, more certain. And in that moment, I knew that whatever lay ahead, we would face it together. We would find a way to move forward, to heal, and to protect the life we had built. But I also knew that the road ahead wouldn't be easy. There would be obstacles, there would be pain, and there would be more secrets to uncover. But I was ready because together we could face anything. The days that followed were a blur of legal meetings, phone calls, and decisions that needed to be made. Kate's past wasn't just something that could be buried. It was a reality we had to confront head-on. The man who had haunted her for years, the man who had caused so much pain, wasn't just a ghost of the past. He was real, and he had a way of getting under your skin, of forcing his way back into people's lives when they least expected it. But even through all the chaos, one thing became clear: Kate wasn't alone anymore, and neither was I. Our bond had deepened in ways I never anticipated, and as we navigated the mess that had been forced into our lives, we did it together. There were nights we stayed up talking for hours, sharing our fears, our hopes, and everything in between. Each conversation brought us closer. Each moment made the weight of the past a little bit lighter. In the end, we didn't have all the answers. There were still questions about Luke, and we still didn't know what he was planning, but we had each other, and that was enough to keep moving forward. Kate had finally learned to trust again, and so had I. As I held her in my arms that evening, the weight of everything we had been through settling in, I whispered, "We'll figure this out together." And for the first time in a long time, I truly believed it. We were stronger now, bound by truth, love, and the promise of a future without fear. So, what would you have done if you were in my shoes? Could you forgive someone who kept a life-changing secret for years, or would the betrayal be too deep to ever heal? Some say family is about blood. Others believe it's about who shows up and stays when it matters most. But when the truth finally comes out, does love really conquer all? This story isn't just mine, it's a mirror for all of us. Would you stay silent to protect someone you love, or speak up even if it breaks them? Let me know what you think in the comments below. I want to hear your truth. Follow me so I have the motivation to keep making powerful videos like this. Or give me a boost by simply pressing the number 1.